You're booking your next Royal Caribbean cruise considering which ship and which cabin to book, but is a suite really worth all that extra money to move up to? I've got the pros and cons of going up to a suite up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Staying in a suite looks, well, pretty darn impressive, right? If you've seen photos of them or even videos here on our channel, suites just look amazing. While balcony rooms and interior rooms and ocean view rooms are fantastic, there's nothing wrong with those rooms. When you see a suite, you can't help but gawk a little bit. You can't help but think to yourself, gosh, I don't know anybody that still says the word gosh, and that suite looks really impressive. Suites are meant to be, well, impressive. It's like first class seats on an airplane. The whole idea is you're paying extra for really a luxurious experience, a splurge, a plus up experience, but are they really worthwhile? And should you spend extra money for a suite? Obviously, it's a splurge, and we're not talking about necessarily a great return on your investment in terms of the money you're going to spend versus the value you will get back. But for a lot of people, moving up to a suite is about really treating yourself and moving up there because you can afford to do it. Thus, let's take advantage of that, right? It's the same reason you might buy a BMW over a Ford, or you might buy a Rolex over a Swatch, or I don't know what regular brands of watches are. I just know about a Rolex. Or the same reason you might buy a specific brand that costs a little bit extra than the house brand of something, right? These are all the kind of decisions that you make when you have the money, you can afford it, and you feel like spending a little bit extra to get something a little bit nicer. Certainly, I can understand that. And I've done this a couple different times on various ships, staying in suites. We talked about not too long ago, my first time in a star class suite. But for a long time, I didn't book suites because, the extra money spent on a suite is hard to overlook when you consider you could take that money and book another cruise or book an amazing shore excursion or both in a lot of cases, right? The price for a suite is going to be all over the place, and how much you're going to pay for that suite is going to vary depending on the ship, the type of suite we're talking about, and the sailing date. There's going to be reasonably expensive suites and ridiculously expensive suites and everything in between. And when we talk about suites on Royal Caribbean, we're really talking about grand suites or higher. No offense to the junior suites that are out there. They're not really a full suite in the sense of what you get out of it. So we're going to ignore that for a second. We're talking about grand suites, owner suites, royal suites, ultimate family suites, aqua theater suites, and the like. So first of all, let's talk about the benefits. Why would you want to book a suite? Well, first and foremost, you're going to be getting way more space in your room. The size of your cabin is significantly larger for a suite compared to even the most spacious balcony rooms that are out there. Depending on the suite you choose, you could really double, triple, or even quadruple the amount of living space that are there. In a lot of cases, especially with the larger suites that are out there, you can have multiple bedrooms, multiple living areas like a living room, a dining room, extra bathrooms, and of course, an even larger balcony area. The amount of living space you get with a suite is probably the most noticeable thing about any suite you ever walk into. Pretty soon you start to realize, wow, this is actually like a normal size amount of room compared to what you'd really be seeing on a cruise ship, right? You see those inside rooms, they're nice, but you're squeezing into them in a lot of cases. But suites really give you a lot of space to spread out on, and you feel like less you're on top of each other if you're sharing the cabin with other people down there. On top of that, of course, the amenities that you get within the suite are truly impressive. The bathroom, I think, is probably the most noticeable area. I know we're going to start with the bathroom first. It's kind of weird, but the bathroom is truly opulent in most suites because you're going to be getting, first of all, a full-size bathtub, not that stand-up shower thing that looks like you're about to get beamed onto the Enterprise. Instead, you're going to get this nice big bathtub, which is nice for if you got kids. Women like bathtubs as well because it's easier to shave their legs, and it's just more space, and you get to, move your arms around a little bit. You're not doing the shuffle within the shower. Then, of course, you're also going to have maybe even a second sink. It's just going to look nicer. You're going to have upgraded toiletry amenities, and on top of all that, there's just generally more space in the bathroom. So no matter where you are, you can have a little more area to move around in. Moving back into the cabin itself, you're going to have upgraded bedding. You're going to have nicer accoutrements within the suite itself. And in a lot of cases, you're going to have awesome views from the suite. The really nice thing about suites in a lot of cases, besides the extra living space, is the views you get out of there. There's a lot more windows. It's a lot more inviting. It can be a little more open layout, quite frankly. And when you consider just how much space you get with a suite, it's a really nice thing. And it might make you think twice about maybe moving up to that size of a room. Speaking of the room, of course, we're talking about the location. And on certain ships, especially the Oasis and Quantum class ships, being in a suite gets you a pretty great location on the ship. Mid-deck, great access to the elevators, and of course, you're going to have some awesome views. A lot of the best suites are on the back of the ship. Those aft suites have a fantastic view of the wake, or perhaps you're in a grouping of suites that are a lot closer to certain suite amenities like the suite lounge. Certainly the Oasis class ships have these on deck 16 because your cabins are right near the suite lounge and coastal kitchen, which makes for easy access. It's not quite the ship within a ship concept that some other lines have, but being on a Royal Caribbean ship on a suite, especially the Oasis class, you really do feel like you have a little more exclusivity with that. And of course, speaking of the Royal Suite class, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the benefits of staying in a suite. For all that extra money, you're not only getting an awesome room, you're also getting extra benefits. Now, the benefits do depend if you're on an Oasis and Quantum class ship versus the rest of the fleet, but essentially, all suites get access to the concierge lounge. The concierge lounge is an area dedicated just for suite guests, and of course, the concierge themselves is located in there. The concierge is essentially your own kind of guest services, if you will. Rather than going down to guest services, the concierge can assist you with pretty much any problem you might have or any requests you might have. They're not butlers by any means, but they're there to help make your cruise experience better. They can book your reservations, and they're a lot of times great problem solvers. There's been many situations in which I have not been able to find availability for a restaurant or for a show, and I talked to the concierge about it, and they've been able to find something. They can pull strings. In a lot of cases, actually, the concierge holds back certain capacities, certain seats for events and whatnot. So again, they're an asset to you. In the evening, you actually have complimentary alcoholic beverages in the concierge lounge or the suite lounge, depending on which ship you're on. And here you have basically free booze to be able to enjoy for a lot of folks who are not big drinkers but want to have a free drink or two or four. The suite lounge is there for them, and it's a great value because you could really take advantage of that fully, especially when you combine it, maybe with other people that are staying in the cabin. If you're sharing the cabin with other friends or family members, you may be able to get a better value out of taking advantage of those complimentary drinks. And of course, there's hors d'oeuvres as well served in the concierge lounge at night. And it's just a nice benefit to have that access. In addition to that, most Royal Caribbean cruise ships have at least some sort of a reserved area on the pool deck for suite guests. It really does vary from ship to ship, but there's usually a reserved area. On some of the newer ships, there's actually a suite deck. On Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas, they've actually built an entire suite neighborhood between deck 16 and 18 that we haven't quite seen yet as of the recording of this video, but this is going to be a new area of the ship dedicated just to suite guests. There's never been as much space dedicated to guests staying in a suite. So there's a compelling reason there to consider staying in a suite for that reason. Of course, it's important for you to actually take advantage of these benefits. These amenities can exist, but if you don't go to the concierge lounge, if you don't talk to the concierge, and if you don't go to the suite sun deck or reserved seating somewhere, you're not going to be able to take full advantage of it, right? Depending on the ship, and Royal Caribbean will contact you about a week before your cruise with the full list of benefits that are available to you. It could be reserved seating at shows. It could be a reserved beach at Labadee, and a variety of other benefits available to you. I actually like one of the best things about staying in a suite, in my opinion, is the priority embarkation and disembarkation benefit, where essentially the suite concierge will either escort you on the ship and off the ship when it's time to leave. And I got to tell you, especially on the latter, when it's time to leave on the final morning, having the suite concierge walk you off the ship has saved so much time over the long haul. And this is available, by the way, for really all suite guests, grand suite and above. You don't have to be staying in the top suites in order to get that benefit, but there's that. And of course, there is Star Class and the Royal Genie. And when we talk about the Star Class, you're talking about the best of what Royal Caribbean has to offer with its suite benefits. This is available on the very top tier of suites, so you got to be paying for those really big opulent suites like the 2-bedroom Aqua Theater suite, the Star Loft suite, among others. But the benefit here is you're getting really personalized service from the Royal Genie. So it takes the concierge concept, combines it with, let's call it a butler. It's not quite a butler, but that level of attention. And then you get just an unbelievable suite experience if you happen to be staying on there, right? So it's really impressive if you have that in there because there's just so many things that are available to you. So why might you not want to book a suite? Well, we talked a little bit about it already, and that is the price. It's hard to ignore the added cost of staying in a suite because the price jump from a balcony to a suite is substantial in almost every single situation. It's very rare that you'll see a normal jump. Usually when you look at prices between an inside room, an ocean view room, and a balcony, you can kind of see the logic there. It's not that much more to move up from every single category. It's like moving up from like a medium popcorn to a large popcorn at the movie theater. It's not unreasonably expensive to do so. But when you go from a balcony to a suite, well, there's a lot of money gap in the middle over there. And in many situations, you might actually be able to book another cruise for that price difference. Not always, and it does depend obviously on the type of suite, the ship, etc. But the bottom line is it ain't cheap to move up to a suite. And when we talk about the Royal Suite class ones, the ones I was just talking about with the genie and everything like that, yeah, you're probably talking about prices that easily start in the 5-figure numbers in dollars and move up from there. And it's not unheard of for some of the amazing suites, like the Ultimate Family Suite, to have prices that do rival new cars. They can really get up there. So it ain't cheap, and it's not for everybody. And there are ways around it. Sometimes you can, get a good price on a suite by booking really far in advance. But when you book a suite, you're never really going to find a true value. You may find a good deal, relatively speaking, but it's never going to be cheaper than a balcony or something like that. I've seen situations where a balcony is cheaper than an ocean view room or an interior room. That's not unheard of. But suites being cheaper than balcony rooms is definitely unheard of. So you're going to pay for it one way or another, but it's going to cost you. And really, this is not about so much the added cost as it is, could you use that money for something else? Could you instead save the money on a suite and book another cruise? Be able to take another vacation in the year, book an amazing shore excursion, or simply plus up your cruise, right? Take that money, buy a drink package, do awesome shore excursions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly, you can kind of run with that. I think that's the biggest issue for a lot of folks when they look at the price. Not so much they can't afford it, but should they pay that kind of pricing for a room? And at the end of the day, here's another con to staying in a suite. How much time are you actually going to spend in your room? On a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, there's so much to do on board. You've got amazing activities, entertainment. You're visiting incredible and beautiful ports of call. So how much time will you really spend in your room? If you're going to be doing a lot of cool activities on board the ship, are you going to be able to take advantage of all that extra money you paid for a room that's going to be sitting idle while you're not there? This is a really tough one. I can kind of justify in my mind a lot of times the price to pay for a suite. But if you're not in the room, you're really not taking advantage of it. Certainly, there are some benefits you can take advantage of not being in the room. As an example, the concierge lounge. That's not a bad way to get a value out of your suite because while you're not in your room itself, you're taking advantage of the benefits that are there. But when it comes to Royal Caribbean especially, there's so much attention and focus on the onboard activities that in a lot of cases, you might have a very limited time in your room because your attention is being competed with so many other things, especially restaurants, the amazing activities, the flow rider, bumper cars, and amazing pool decks, water slides, you name it. This is vying for your attention. The old saying is, you really only go to your cabin to sleep, change, and shower in. So why is that different for a suite? Certainly, you could force yourself to say, well, I'm going to stay in the suite. I'm just going to hang out here the whole time. Yeah, you can say that, and you can do that, certainly. And some people do actually go to those lengths. But it almost feels like you're punishing yourself in the sense that maybe your heart wants to go do trivia. Maybe you want to go on those water slides. You shouldn't feel like I have to be in the room in order to get my money's worth out of it, right? That's kind of a consideration when it comes down to how much time you actually spend in your room. On top of all of that, there are some ways actually you can buy some of the benefits that are available to you as a suite guest. Certainly with Royal Caribbean, if you move up the Crown and Anchor Society ladder and you get to, I would say, Diamond and above, number one, you're going to get free drinks every day as a Diamond member. Number two, priority embarkation. At least pre-COVID, Diamond members got priority embarkation, but that could return as well once, kind of the pandemic starts to wane down a little bit. But that was a benefit to them. You get discounted Wi-Fi as well, and Wi-Fi is included with some of the suite rooms, but as a Diamond guest, you can get that as well. Or, of course, you could also just buy into something like the Key, which I don't love, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the Key does give you some benefits that overlap with suite access, like internet access, priority embarkation, among others. It's nice to have these kinds of things as well. So you could make the justification that I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars more for a suite. I'm going to buy the Key, not because Matt doesn't like it, but because it's at least going to get me some more extra benefits and make me feel a little more special, but I'm not paying through the nose for a suite. That's certainly not a bad leap of logic. And the last reason you might not want to get a suite is it can oftentimes be cheaper to get two smaller rooms rather than try to put everybody into one suite. Whether you're doing one suite or even just one large balcony room, I've oftentimes found it very advantageous and cheaper to get two connecting smaller rooms, and that way you get the space you need for everybody. You get an extra bathroom, which in a lot of cases, even if you're staying in the biggest suite out there, 2 bathrooms is pretty much all you're getting, and you're paying a fraction for what the suite cost would have been. While the 2-room strategy may not get you any of the benefits that a suite gets you, at the end of the day, you're going to be paying a fraction of what the suite cost would have been, and for a lot of folks, that's all they need to hear. So is a suite worth it? Ultimately, it's in the eye of the beholder. How much money do you have for it? How comfortable are you laying out that money? And what's important to you? How important are these benefits to you? How much can your vacation budget stretch? And what are you looking for in your cruise experience? Certainly, I think also the ship that you're on may play a factor in this decision or not. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for everybody, but for a lot of folks, I think they've already made up their mind based on some of these major considerations. Let me know in the comments below, what is your general go-to? Do you usually book suites? Do you generally not book suites? Why or why not? Let me know down there below. While you're down there, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on your notifications so that way YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. We'll talk again real soon.